I think we all know this feeling.
Yeah.
It's that really specific kind of grading experience. You're having a perfectly fine day, right? Maybe the meeting went well, coffee was good, and then just bam.
Okay.
You hit a super slow line at the checkout.
Yeah.
Or someone cuts you off in traffic, like spectacularly rudely.
Oh, yeah. Happens all the time.
Or you lose something, maybe not even valuable, but, sentimental. And just like that, your whole inner state just shifts.
Gone.
Totally gone. Piece out the window.
Yeah.
You're agitated, irritated, maybe sort of fuming inside.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it, how these tiny, really mundane external things, things we absolutely cannot control,
Right.
how they manage to basically hold hostage the most precious thing we have, our inner state, that feeling of just being grounded.
Exactly. And that's what we've been digging into with this stack of material. It really dissects this this vulnerability we seem to have.
Yeah.
The big question, the one these sources keep circling back to, is why? Why are we so quick to just hand over our well-being to, like, a slow cashier or a terrible driver? And what does it even mean to achieve what the material talks about? This idea of complete freedom from externals. Sounds pretty lofty.
It does sound lofty, but that's precisely our mission for this deep dive, right? We want to get under the surface of suffering. Really look at the almost mechanical way our inner peace gets chipped away. And spoiler, it's usually not the events themselves.
It's the mental habits, as the sources put it.
Exactly. Ingrained mental habits. So the goal here is to really understand how we can consciously separate the neutral actual experience from the judgments, often negative, that we immediately slap onto it. It's about disentangling reality from our commentary about reality.
Right. Let's start with that root cause then. The sources call it the dependency trap. Sounds a bit dramatic, maybe.
Maybe a little clinical even, but it feels deeply human, doesn't it?
It really does ring true, yeah.
And the thing is, the sheer extent of this dependency is, well, it's kind of wild when you look closely.
How so?
We're not just talking about, linking our mood to whether it's sunny or rainy. Often, we tie our fundamental sense of fulfillment, our basic well-being.
Our core happiness.
Yeah, exactly. To things like the weather, sure, but also our job status, financial situation, and this is a huge one, what other people think of us.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Like if a client gives you praise, you feel good.
Right. But if a stranger just frowns at you on the street,
your mood just dips instantly.
And that leaves us totally exposed, doesn't it?
Completely. Because if our well-being depends on those conditions always being right, well, we're living on a knife edge.
We're always operating on a hair trigger. The source material puts it well. A change in external conditions can trigger immediately a change in your inner state.
And if that's true, life feels, well, precarious, unstable.
Absolutely. If your self-worth needs constant approval or your inner comfort relies on everything running smoothly outside, you've essentially outsourced your internal security system to the, frankly, random chaos of the world.
Okay, hold on, though. Let me push back a tiny bit here. Isn't some level of dependency just normal?
Yeah.
Natural?
How do you mean?
Well, if I'm financially secure, I generally feel less stressed, happier than if I'm broke, right? If I'm healthy, I feel better than if I'm sick. We are physical beings in a physical world.
That's a really crucial distinction. And yes, of course, we're talking more about the emotional and psychological dependency, not basic physical needs or realities.
Okay.
Physical illness obviously causes pain. Poverty causes immense stress. That's undeniable.
Right.
But the sources suggest that even within those really tough, objectively difficult conditions, the suffering component, the despair, the anger, the resentment, the why me feeling, that's like an extra layer.
An overlay.
Yeah, a psychological overlay. And the key idea is that this overlay, it's kind of optional. The ultimate freedom they talk about lies in releasing the resistance to what is.
So it's not about pretending things aren't difficult. It's about letting go of the internal fight, the need to constantly label the situation as wrong or bad.
You got it. It just is as it is. That moment of acceptance of letting go of the resistance, that's the doorway to freedom. Now, we often think about this kind of acceptance only in, extreme situations. The material mentions, being on the deck of the Titanic as it's going down.
Right, like only in a massive crisis can you reach that point of surrender.
Exactly, where all you have left is the present moment and how you choose to be in it.
But thankfully, we don't have to wait for a shipwreck to start practicing this.
And we shouldn't. That's the whole point. The simplest things, the everyday little annoyances.
The slow line, the traffic jam.
Perfect training ground. They're minor enough that we can observe our reaction without getting totally overwhelmed, but they happen often enough to give us lots of practice.
That makes sense. If you lose your cool, overspilled coffee, how are you going to handle a real crisis?
Precisely. The little things actually reveal the full depth of our internal dependency. It's quite humbling, actually.
Okay, let's get really specific then. Let's unpack the mechanism using that classic example. Waiting in line, and it's taking way longer than you thought it would.
Right. So picture yourself there. Feel that little flicker of irritation starting up.
Yep. Familiar feeling.
Where does it actually come from? Think about it. It doesn't really come from the objective fact that time is passing.
So where then?
It bubbles up entirely from a thought, a specific mental judgment you're making.
Like what kind of thought?
It might be, I've been here 10 minutes, this is ridiculous, or they should do something. Whoever they are, they need to fix this.
Or just simply, this isn't right, or this shouldn't be happening.
Exactly. That mental label, that judgment, that reality should be different than it is right now, that's the trigger.
The instantaneous trigger.
It's the ignition switch.
No.
And the sequence here is so important to grasp. Mental judgment happens. This is bad. This is wrong. And the body immediately responds with an emotion. That feeling, the irritation, the frustration, being mildly upset, that's what the sources actually call a mild form of suffering.
Hold on. Suffering? That sounds really strong for just being annoyed in line. People usually think of suffering as like intense pain or grief.
I know the word feels big, but the sources are really clear that the underlying mechanism is identical.
How so?
That irritation you feel. It's structurally the same psychological process that generates huge anger, or that gnawing anxiety, or just, all the complaining and mental chatter that follows.
So irritation is just low-grade suffering.
Basically, yeah. The difference is only in intensity, not in the origin of the process itself. The engine is the same.
Okay, wow. So the input, the slow line, is essentially neutral.
Neutral data, just people waiting.
And the output, the agitation, the suffering, is entirely generated by the judgment we slap onto that neutral data.
Precisely. And this is where the potential for awakening comes in, that aha moment. Realizing, oh, I am doing this. I'm the one creating this loss of peace over a line that's just moving slowly. The external world didn't steal my peace. My own internal judgment gave it away.
Okay, I can see listeners nodding along thinking, yeah, I know I shouldn't get mad about that stuff, but I feel the annoyance anyway. It just rushes in.
Totally. It's hard because the reaction is so fast, so unconscious. It's a habit.
So knowing the mechanism isn't enough to stop it in the moment.
Not initially, maybe. But the realization is the start, and it gets deeper if you can catch yourself as it's happening, in the moment.
Like observing it in real time.
Yes. Even if the reaction is already halfway there, you notice, there's the judgment, there's the irritation starting. That observation itself creates a tiny bit of space.
A gap between the event and the habitual reaction.
Exactly, and that gap is where awareness begins. That's the beginning of conscious choice.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly then into section 3. Because this whole idea of peace and non-judgment, sometimes it sounds a bit like, well, apathy.
Yeah, like just not caring about anything.
Right. If I stop judging bad service, do I just become passive? What exactly is this precious thing, this inner peace that we're trying to protect? Is it just being numb?
That's such a common misconception, and it's crucial we clear it up. True inner peace, as described in these sources, is absolutely not a dead peace.
Not numbness.
No, not emotional numbness or just desensitizing yourself. That's more like suppression or even depression.
So what is it then?
The sources describe it as something really active, actually. A deep sense of aliveness, a kind of quiet, steady joy underneath everything, a peaceful and alive energy field that's always there in the background.
Okay, that sounds much more appealing, like a strong anchor.
It is the anchor. It's arguably the most precious thing in your entire life, the background soundtrack to your existence, you could say.
And yet, we give it up so easily.
Constantly, because of those conditioned mental habits we talked about. That unconscious process kicks in with that tiny, usually unquestioned thought, this shouldn't be happening.
And because we don't pause to recognize it as just a thought like a mental construction, not objective reality.
We believe it as the undeniable truth of the situation. We fuse the thought with the reality.
That is the core mistake. The unconsciousness.
That's what the sources call the mixing error. Pure unconsciousness in action. We literally mix up our judgment with the external condition.
Can you give an example?
Think about the weather. Someone says, "Oh, it's a dreadful day today because it's raining."
Okay, pretty common.
What's happened there? They've mixed their mental judgment dreadful with the simple external condition. It's raining. The day, physically, is just experiencing precipitation. The dreadfulness is purely their commentary.
It's like putting a dreadful filter on the camera lens and then believing the filter is the landscape.
Perfect analogy. Or back to the line, standing here for so long is dreadful. The situation is physical, standing. The dreadfulness is the filter, the judgment you applied.
So the practice is to consciously separate those.
Yes, to disentangle them, to create that space. Okay, here is what is the slow line, the rain. And here is what my mind is saying about it. Dreadful, wrong, waste of time.
And just seeing that separation, that does something.
It's potentially transformative.
Yeah.
Because you realize that believing automatically and totally in every single judgment that pops into your head, that's what makes you instantly lose your peace.
Not the line itself.
The actual situation, the line, the rain, the rude driver, it's just energy and matter doing its thing. Our peace is only ever lost because we believe our negative assessment of it.
Wow. So recognizing that the belief is optional, that's the key. That's the leverage point.
That's the power switch, exactly. Which brings us nicely into section 4, the actual practice and the freedom that can come from it.
Right. And I think the most, exciting promise here is that feeling of power you get when you realize you can actually stop believing the judgment.
Or even just let it go entirely, relinquish it.
What does that feel like?
The sources describe it as an enormous liberation. Imagine being stuck somewhere you previously would have absolutely hated mentally, like your flight's delayed for hours, stuck in a crowded airport terminal.
Oh yeah, nightmare scenario.
But instead of launching into the usual internal monologue, this is awful, I hate this airline, my whole day is ruined, instead you're just there.
Just present.
Just present, without the layer of judgment. And suddenly you realize, it's actually okay. The physical situation might be uncomfortable, sure, you're still sitting in an airport chair.
But the mental torture is gone.
Exactly. The mental anguish evaporates. That ability to drop the label, to just be with what is, that's the beginning of real freedom from externals.
Okay, but here's the big practical question. The pushback. If I stop condemning things like incompetence or rude behavior, won't I just become a doormat?
Right. Do I just accept bad service? Do I stop taking action?
Yeah. Isn't non-judgment just passivity?
This is maybe the single most important clarification we need to make. Non-judgment absolutely does not mean inaction. It's not about becoming passive.
Okay, good. So what does it mean for action?
If the line is genuinely too long, or the service is truly terrible, you still know what needs to be done. Maybe you switch lines, maybe you politely make a complaint, maybe you decide to leave the store and go elsewhere.
So you can still act?
Absolutely. You can still take clear, effective action. But, and this is the key difference, the action is not fueled by condemnation, personal irritation, or negative energy.
So instead of acting out of that agitated feeling of this is wrong, they need to fix this now.
The action comes from a place of calm awareness, clarity.
Okay.
When action is driven by resistance and negativity, it often ends up being messy, maybe aggressive, maybe just plain ineffective. You make things worse.
Right.
But when action comes from that calm, clear space where you've disentangled the situation from your judgment about it, it tends to be much more precise, effective, and honestly less draining for you.
You do what needs doing and move on without losing your inner peace over it.
Exactly. The whole energy behind the action changes. It's less like a reaction and more like a conscious response.
That sounds less like just a philosophy and more like developing a really advanced skill set.
It really is. And that's why the material emphasizes this is a continuous practice. It's not a one-time fix.
You have to keep at it.
You use all those little things that happen all day long. You lose your keys, you chip your favorite mug, there's a sudden loud noise that startles you.
All those minor frustrations.
They become your opportunities, your practice ground, like little weightlifting exercises for your awareness. It's that daily repetition of catching the judgment, noticing the reaction.
That gradually allows you to go into situations without those judgments firing off automatically.
Exactly. You build the muscle of awareness.
Okay, let's just nail down that core distinction one last time before we wrap up. The situation itself, even if it involves real physical discomfort, like a headache or standing for a long time or being cold, that discomfort isn't the suffering.
Correct. Physical discomfort is just part of being human. It happens. It's the mental commentary, the persistent judgment.
Like, I hate this cold. I wish this headache would just stop. This standing is unbearable.
That is what adds the layer of suffering on top of what is simply a physical sensation or a neutral reality. We basically multiply our own pain by constantly arguing with what is.
What a powerful idea. We add the suffering ourselves. So this continuous micro-practice, just noticing and letting go of simple judgments about small things, it's really an essential part of spiritual awakening, as the Source puts it. Or maybe just achieving real psychological freedom.
Beautifully put. And that profound inner shift, that freedom, it doesn't require some huge retreat or complex ritual.
It starts right here.
It starts with the line at the coffee shop, the annoying email, the unexpected traffic jam. Those are the moments.
Okay, so let's leave our listeners with a final thought then. A provocative question to take into their day.
Great idea.
Since this practice really begins with the simple everyday things, take a moment right now or later today and identify just one recurring minor complaint you have. Something small.
Could be anything.
Maybe it's the sound your neighbor's dog makes. Maybe it's a particular form you always hate filling out. Maybe it's a judgment you regularly catch yourself making about how a friend or relative does something.
Find that one little thing.
Yeah. What is one little thing that you can consciously observe today? Notice the situation, notice the judgment your mind throws onto it, and just practice disentangling them. See if you can relinquish that negative commentary just for a moment, starting right now.